Morning. Okay, so this is our first live lecture for ECE 101. I just want to say, in a perfect world, all of you would have started your program with this course. Unfortunately, I know we've got some of you that are ending your program with your intro course. The good news is if you've already had the other ECE classes, this is going to be a little bit of a review for you. It shouldn't be too stressful, which actually helps us as well, because we are in the busy season. So we're just going to dabble a little bit into early childhood education tonight. We'll talk about our class and maybe some upcoming assignments. So let's get going with the announcement. First of all, let me make sure I have everybody written down. Please remember, if you come to the class, if you come to our live lecture, that's all you need to do is be here and participate, and then you do not have to turn in a summary. Rita, Maria, Samantha, I think I have everybody written down because we're so high-tech when it comes to attendance, right? Okay, so the announcement. Welcome to week number 1. I want you to know that I really thought about this course, and I moved a few things around. I think you'll notice that we have a few more assignments in week 1, 2, and 3 than we do in week 4. Did that on purpose, and I hope it helps out. Also, if you'll jump ahead, if I hop on down here to week 4 to the final paper, you'll notice that instead of having a final exam this time, you're going to have a short research paper, which will be due the last night of our final week. Again, with the looking ahead idea, if you wanted to hop ahead to week 4 and look at the final paper, this might be something that you could start ahead of time and turn in just as soon as you get it done. You can turn this final paper in. You're already working on week 2, Sarah. That's great. That's great. Because the more that you can get out of the way, the more you can free up that time at the end of this month. And that's what I want you to be able to do. Since we don't have a Christmas break, we will go, of course, to the end of December, which is December 27th, with our class. And then the next class will start on the 28th for those of you that are continuing on. However, for Ms. Stephanie, don't you start your externship on the 28th, I believe? Yes, you do. Well, fantastic. So I knew it was coming up soon. So Stephanie's looking forward to that as well. So work towards that. That's our goal. It's just sort of get things turned in as much as we can, as soon as we can. I have no problems with you all working forward in the class. The only thing I ask is that you participate in the discussion board during the assigned week. So you're welcome to post your initial response to the discussion board at any time, actually. I've had some people post their initial responses at the beginning of the class. At the beginning of the course, they'll go through each of our discussion boards and put up their initial post. Then they'll come back during that week and interact with the other classmates. So it's just a way of, again, working ahead. Also, we'll be doing our Pinterest assignments again. Yay! I tried to miss those with our last class. So we will be using Pinterest again. And for my new people, Samantha and Brittany, have you guys used Pinterest before? You have. Okay, so you're familiar to it. Great. Samantha, Brittany, have you used it as well? Use it for recipes. Okay, great. So the good news is you can use your Pinterest account that you already have, and I sent you an email with a link to my Pinterest page. page, my instructor page. So be sure and go on Pinterest and follow me so that I can then follow you and use your boards to grade you. You're welcome to use one that you already have. We'll be creating new boards each week and moving right along. So that's another thing that you are welcome to work ahead on. You already have one discussion board. Good, Lita, good. Yay. So like we said, we can always, work on this on the discussion board since you brought that up. Again, be sure you post your initial post by Wednesday of this week on both of these discussion boards. And then you'll be responding to 2 by Sunday, just as we normally do. If I ever make a big change in our format for our classes, I'll be sure and bring it up. I like to keep it as consistent as possible so that every class you have, you're already comfortable with. And there's no relearning that you have to do when you go into different classes. Katrina, is it kicking you on and off? I saw you like sign in and sign out. I didn't know if it's giving you fits tonight. That can also happen sometimes. Oh, gotcha. Oh, don't you love essays? Yes. And those always happen at just the right time. Okay, let me get my pointer out here. I'm going to use the sunshine again tonight because it's cold. Week 1, welcome. Weeks 1 through 3 will be busy. Pinterest assignments. The e-textbook, I think everyone's gotten signed in okay to that. Samantha, have you been able to get signed on to your e-text? I asked Brittany earlier and she was able to. What is that? That's our textbooks that we use for the class. Oh, got you. It was breaking up. I'm sorry. Yeah, it looks like I'm lagging a little bit. The e-textbook, you are enrolled in a class. You go to my classes, my courses. You're enrolled in a course that's called ECE e-textbook. And if you go into that class, you'll find 3 textbooks there, a link to Vital Source, so that you can get your ECE textbooks onto your bookshelf and be able to access them. We use 3 different books. Oh, you have? Wonderful. Good. Oh, I just froze again. I need to slow down so I won't freeze. We'll be using those 3 books. In fact, during this class alone, you'll be going into each of those books. So be sure and pay attention each week to what it says because we're covering, I believe, Chapter 1 and Intro to ECE this week. But then we're hopping to our DAP book in the coming week, and then we'll also be in the Developmental Profiles book as well. So pay attention to which book we're in each week. The final paper in place of a final exam is working ahead. So I think we've got all of our announcements. If your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, you are a leader. And that's what I want you guys to get out of our classes because you're going into that role. You're going to be the leaders in the classroom. You may be a leader of your own center. Maybe you want to open your own home daycare center. Or maybe you just want to be the leader of your children. So, so these are all the things that you do. If you're inspiring anybody, you're a leader. Chapter 1, we're going through the scope of and need for early childhood education. And I know many of you already know this because you're here. You're drawn to early childhood education. Some of the things early childhood education are affected by are the economy. We have to have the money there to help us build and employ and provide care for. We are affected by changes in the family life, and if you think of that, in our last class we talked about how families have changed over the last few decades, actually, that we've gone through having what's considered a traditional family to very different types of families. Sometimes we're single homes, sometimes we co-parent, sometimes we're from larger families or small families. So any change in family life is going to affect early childhood education, who's looking for it, who's providing it. Also, growing public awareness and public support. We know it's so important right now. It does. That's right. That's right. So the more public awareness we have of ECE and the importance of this early intervention, the more support we get for it, right? So changes in families, what we've seen, increases in the number of dual income families. And goodness, if you want to go back to the time when mothers stayed in a home more than we do now, I guess you'd have to go back to the 50s and 60s probably, because women really started entering the workforce a lot more in the 70s. So even now, of course, we have to have, it seems like two incomes to pay the bills anymore, right? So dual income families and increasing number of single parent households and declining influence of extended family because we're more mobile than we used to be. We used to marry and sort of stay close to our family, but now it's not unusual for a young couple to move across the country, to move where the jobs are, to move to maybe a town where they have the activities they want to engage in. So we move around a lot more. We may not have grandparents nearby or other family members nearby to help care for the children. So some of the purposes, why are we here? Why do we need early childhood educators? First of all, care, number one. Oh, you moved 45 minutes from your family because of schooling. Oh, yes, Sarah, exactly. Was it to get into a better school system? Good, good. Exactly. Sometimes, we do what we need to do. I actually drive my kids to the next town over. I have them go to Afton schools when we actually live in Maryland. Similar situation. I went to school there. I'm very comfortable with it. There's actually people that I went to school with back in the day that are teachers at Afton, so I feel safe with my kids there. Yeah. So exactly, we do what we need to do to get our kids the things they need, right? You did. Oh, and that's miserable being in a bad school system. Exactly. So purposes of early childhood: provide care for infants up to school age, safe nurturing environment, DAP, developmentally appropriate practices, also enrichment. We don't just put them in early childhood for care. Sometimes it's an option, and they're just wanting the children to get a little more enrichment experiences, to be around other children, even just the socialization aspect of this enriching environment. And also compensation. Sometimes we need to compensate for something in the child's background. Maybe they're having issues that we're wanting to catch early, possible disabilities. Maybe they haven't been around other children. Maybe they've been an only child at home, and they need to learn how to be around other children, how to follow rules in the classroom, how to interact with the teacher. There's lots of different ways that we can help children get sort of caught up, right? And so those are just some of our roles in ECE. Also, organizational utilization of early childhood programs. We have different program settings, of course. We're going to talk about that in a minute. We have different basic ages of children, sort of how we group them together. And we also have different sources of program support that we're going to go over too as well. So first, let's look at the program settings. There's two basic ECE program settings: family child care and center-based child care. So those of you that have small children, let's use our hand button here. For those of you that are new, kind of in the middle of the screen on the left-hand side, you've got a place where you can raise your hand. It looks like just the outline of my hand. So if you have children and they went to family child care home, whether it was in your home or somebody else's home, raise your hand. If your child went to a family child care situation, Jasmine, yours did too. Oh, great. You guys are getting pictures. Awesome. Okay, so Jasmine, this is what I did when mine were small. I was actually teaching high school family consumer sciences, but when I had my first child, I just couldn't stand the thought of leaving her. So I quit my job and I started an at-home daycare where I cared for my children along with other teachers' kids specifically. So I cared for teachers' kids that were the same school system as my husband. He taught in junior high. Therefore, we were all on the same schedule. It was fantastic. Whenever they were out of school, I was off work for the day. Our breaks were the same. Teacher meeting days were the same. So it worked really well for us. Plus, it was me and at one time 4 infants. So that's about the maximum you want to have with infants. That was a lot of diaper changing, but it was so much fun to be surrounded and care for all of these babies. Okay, so you might have a family child care home. Secondly, you might have a center-based program, which is pretty self-explanatory, a larger center, different shapes and sizes, different requirements for each center. So those are the two basic program settings. And those are, I believe, 2 of the terms you're using this week for the Pinterest assignment, where you're putting up examples of family child care or center care. So you need those terms. Okay, next, the age groups that we service: infant and toddlers, preschool, and school-aged is how they generally group together ECE. Right now, we're seeing a big need for infant and toddler teachers. So if you're at all interested in that area, this is a great time to get into that. Some centers will take you without finishing your degree. They will like the fact that you're working on one, that you're in ECE classes. So don't wait until you graduate to start looking for these jobs. Know that they are there now. You may be able to get an assistant teaching position. Some centers call those T2 positions. So you sort of choose what age group you're interested in, but there's no better teacher than experience. So I think what it really takes is being able to spend a little bit of time in each of these age groups to really understand where you feel like you fit the best. And Maria, wasn't that something that they were going to do with you at your new job? They were talking about letting you sort of choose which age group you would rather work with. Because some people really love infants. Some people would prefer to be with more mobile preschoolers that are maybe out of diapers. There's lots of different reasons to choose the different age groups. Okay, next, here's just a few ratios that I thought some of you might want to know. Now these are the Oklahoma provider ratios. They're going to be different state by state, and if you're in a different state, you can definitely look these figures up on the internet. So currently, the ratio is for birth to 12 months is 1 to 4, meaning one teacher, 4 infants. Okay? And maximum group size is 8. So that means if you had 8 infants in a classroom, you need to have at least 2 teachers. Now this is going to vary center to center. Some centers have lower ratios. Maybe they have 1 to 3 for 0 to 12 months. So it just depends on the program. 12 to 23 months, the ratio is 1 to 6. 1 teacher to 6. 12 to 23 months old with a maximum group size of 12. 2-year-olds, ratio is 1 to 8. So you're noticing a trend here. It goes up the older they get. 3 years old, 1 to 12. 4 and 5, 1 to 15. And 6 years and over, 1 to 20. Now, I find it interesting that we have a group size maximum of 6 years and older, 1 to 20, because there are many classrooms in public school where they may have over 20 in the classroom, right? I've even seen up to 30 in a single classroom. Now, if this is early on, if this is in grade school, then they will need to have another teacher or a teacher assistant in the classroom. So I want you to just be aware that those are out there and that they vary state to state on the ratio. Okay, so where do we get our funding from? Your youngest is in kindergarten at 24, yes. Very common. And how many teachers do they have, Sarah? Do they have just the one teacher or a teacher and a teacher's aide? One each and 2 classes. Gotcha. That is a lot of little bodies to manage. That is. I wish in that instance that she did have a helper in there. Yes, that's a lot. I've substituted under those numbers before. It's like I say it's like herding cats. Oh, and you volunteered. That's fantastic. That's great. Okay, so where do we get our funding? Where do we get our support? No matter what type of early childhood education you're working in, the money has to come from somewhere, right? We have for-profit programs, meaning the goal is to make money. Nonprofit programs who still have to make a little bit of money to be able to make improvements, but their fees tend to be a little less. You have family cooperative families that come together to maybe just exchange child care instead of money. Employer-supported programs. Have any of you guys worked someplace where they had a child care center on site or a child care center that was nearby? Oh, I missed that one. No? Okay, so at one point in my life, I was able to tour the JCPenney headquarters. This was back in the 80s, and I believe it was in Plano, Texas. The JCPenney headquarters is enormous, and they had an employee fitness center on site, and they had a really good sized child care center on site. And so as you walk in the doors, that's where the child care center was. And you could come down and check on your child through the day, see what's going on. But the big joke was that you needed to get your child on the waiting list before they were conceived. So it was hard to get all the kids into the program that they wanted there, right? So every once in a while you'll see this. ECE at Community Care College, at one point they had a daycare program on website at ECE. And from my understanding, the insurance requirements just kept getting higher and higher so that it became no longer feasible for them to do that. And that's a shame because it's a great situation to be able to work where your child is, right? Okay, we also have university or college affiliating programs. Some colleges have early childhood laboratories or centers on campus. They tend to be a little bit less as far as the cost goes. Some of these are half-day programs. Publicly supported programs such as Head Start. You may have state and public school involvement with ECE, and there are also various forms of military child care on bases. So these are all examples of programs and program support that you may be looking for in the future. And they all have their different requirements. So let's look at, real quick, what would you look for in a quality program. Let me get my list maker up here. You guys give me some ideas. Let's pretend like you're shopping around for a daycare program, anything in early childhood, and you tell me what are some things that you would look for. What would you want to see in that program? What are some things you would like to observe? Safety, yes. Probably the most important thing, Stephanie. Exactly. You want it to be safe on the inside. You want the playground to be safe as well. You want good background checks performed on the workers. So all that sort of ties together with safety, doesn't it? Safe, caring. Caring staff. You want everybody there to have a caring attitude. Good facilities. You want to look around and you would want them to be, of course, clean, in good repair. The kind of parents who want to have workers in the room? Yes, exactly. So let's call that enough staff. Those of you that work in ECE, we can sometimes be in situations where you're short-handed for the day, and for one day is one concern, but to be short-handed on a regular basis is another one, right? Nutrition, exactly. What type of meals do they prepare? Are any of them from scratch, or most of them from frozen meals? There was a daycare center in Joplin that every morning they brought around fresh carrot juice to all the children. And anybody that wanted one could get a cup of carrot juice. And at first I thought, ew, that doesn't sound very good. But if you've ever tried fresh carrot juice, it's really good, and it's sweet, and it's so good, so packed with vitamins. Okay, so an aspect of safety, can you guys think of anything else? Good facilities, clean, good nutrition. Another thing you might look for, depending on your situation, transportation. Do they have a van? Do they have a way to drop off and pick up? Oh, that's okay, Leah. Do they pick you off and you get back on? Sorry. You're back. That's the main thing. One thing that I brought up, and I'm not even really sure, I guess I'll put able to observe that it's very important for me when I'm checking out a program to be able to show up and see how things are operating. I want to know that as a parent, it's okay for me to show up at any time of the day to check out my child, workplaces center, right? So just with any program, you want to be able to, for them to be completely transparent, right? Exactly, so that you know what the day-to-day is like. All right, so let me hop on to our next page, and we'll see how many of these we got. Good child-to-adult ratio, which you brought up in the staff. Group size kind of goes along as well. Staff qualifications is actually one that we didn't bring up, but you could ask about what qualifications they have for their teachers and assistants. Are they using a developmentally appropriate program or DAP, right? So you might be able to ask them about what curriculum they're using. And if you've never heard of it, go home and pull it up on the internet and find more out about it. Is there good child-adult interaction? Is the staff consistent? Respect and concern for the staff? Is it a good, safe physical environment? And is family environment involvement important to them? And we talked about that as well in our last class, how important it is to tie the family in to the center and encourage them to volunteer if they can to be a part of the program. So yeah, I think you guys did good. Daycare poses no risk for children provided that it is high quality. Poor quality daycare is risky for children everywhere. The cost of poor quality daycare is measured in children's lives, and a high quality daycare costs only money. So I like what Sandra Starr had to say there. We've all seen examples on the news of children getting harmed or even worse in daycare centers that are of poor quality, or the children weren't being watched or were actually being hurt intentionally. So it's very important that we check places out, that we know a lot about the place that we're leaving our child, and that you're comfortable with us, and that you're happy with the program. So don't be afraid to snoop. Don't be afraid to check it out. Go on Angie's list. Look it up. In Oklahoma also we have online records for daycare centers. So you can always look them up and see what their track record is as well. Oh, and how they can best help your child. That's right. That's right. Okay, so are there any questions tonight as far as the live lecture goes? It's a little bit shorter. I hope that's okay. You guys, down here you got it, Stephanie. Be sure to get your discussion board postings in by Wednesday at midnight. Everything else is due at Sunday at midnight. And of course, don't be afraid to work ahead. As I said, I know December is going to be a very busy month for so many of you. All right. Well, if we're finished up and there's no more questions, you guys are welcome to get on out of here and get on with your life for the night. Lita, that's probably a good idea, actually. And sometimes it's a good idea to do it anyway, especially if we're talking about final projects. We can go over again. Exactly. Have a good night, Stephanie. I'll go ahead and put your points down there, Lita. Okay? Good night, Samantha. Nice meeting you. Good night, Maria. Bye, Jasmine. Bye, Katrina. No problem. Bye, Brittany. Bye, Lita. You guys have a good night, okay?